guess I have to start this with the intro.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing part 2 of the ACOTAR talk. We're doing ACOMAF, A Court of Mist and Fury, which is the best book in the series.
By far.
I mean, the third one is also really good.
It goes ACOMAF, Silver Flames, ACOWAR, ACOTAR.
Really?
Yeah.
Silver Flames is third, because I really like the politics and like twists and turns of ACOWAR. Okay, so today we are strictly just talking about The Court of Mist and Fury.
Well, okay, I feel like at the end of ACOTAR, like I acknowledged this in the first video, you are in love with Tamlin. Okay, maybe not everybody. Book Talk, in my opinion, is low-key ruined
Loving Tamlin.
Loving Tamlin a little bit because I was fucking in love.
I also
Tamlin. I was in love.
I
with
also
Tamlin.
think because you were younger.
Yes.
Because when I read it, I was in college, and now people that are reading it are older.
Yeah.
Right? Tamlin just isn't the right love interest.
But even if you're not in love with Tamlin, like he's
still a good character.
You know.
Like, I still love Tamlin, even though I loved him for Feyre. I personally wouldn't have been like, oh my god, Tamlin. I just loved him for her.
Yeah.
Because she loved him.
I feel like when you start the book, it obviously starts with Feyre puking, and you're like, oh, this does not sound good. Tamlin's faking sleep. I mean, not everybody wants to be comforted in that situation. Like, some people, that's like super important. Like, I know personally, for me, if I woke up in the middle of the night puking from like a nightmare about trauma, I would not want my boyfriend to come.
You don't think so? You
No.
don't think you want your boyfriend to be like,
I think if I
just
sought,
like not
if I,
say anything but just be there?
No, I think if I sought him out, I don't think it's necessarily evil
Yeah.
or bad that
he faked it.
That he faked it. And I mean, she says that the first couple of times he checked up on her, you know? But I mean, after 3 months straight of that, just puking your
well,
guts
something's
up, or
not
nightmares,
yeah.
and obviously, like she says, he has his own nightmares too. Like,
Yeah.
he wakes up in the middle of the night.
Play like the other side. Like, I completely understand what you mean, but it's my thing of like her throwing up for so long, and she can keep saying that she's okay, but like, you know, she's not okay.
So my thing with Tamlin is she never talks about asking him if he's okay. Like, he wakes up in the middle of the night, changes into the beast form, can't go back to sleep. She's like, we don't talk about it. So she's also not initiating that conversation, which, to be fair, Tamlin is 500 years old and she is 19. See, that's my thing. For me, ACOMAF is kind of a story about two people that react to trauma very, very differently, and one person finds a way to heal from it and one person doesn't. Clearly, his reaction to trauma is to tighten his grip.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, after that, we start seeing how, like, things have changed around the house. Like, she's not allowed to go anywhere. Like, he's leaving every single day. Like, they're barely interacting. It's like two people sleeping in the same bed, but they're barely interacting.
One scene that really got me upset was when he did get her the paint set, and it was him trying to reach out and say like,
nice.
yeah, like, you haven't been the same, but I know you love painting, so here's a new set of paints. But she, obviously, when she sees the red paint, she's just really traumatized with the blood.
Yeah.
At first, I was really mad at Tamlin for like triggering her, but then the longer you read, the more you realize that like Feyre never told him any of these feelings. Like, the reason why Rhysand was so good was because
he's literally
in her
head.
fucking head.
She never verbalized.
She never verbalizes.
He's not
that.
a mind reader.
I think as readers, we fail to realize that we see it in Feyre's perspective. So
She's
we
the
expect,
narrator.
so we expect everyone to know what we know because we're reading it, but we have to realize that she doesn't say it to anyone. Like, she doesn't voice it out.
The way that I've progressed through this is, oh my god, I loved Tamlin. Oh my god, fuck Tamlin, he's fucking the worst, I hate him. And now I'm like in this middle ground of like, I'm a mature adult in a long-term relationship, and I realize that Feyre also
had her
mistakes
flaws
and had her flaws, which is, personally, I know Sarah J. Maas likes Tamlin. She doesn't like she loves him as a character, and she's talked about that before, and I feel like a lot of people tend to overlook that Sarah J. Maas writes really complex characters, and Tamlin is one of my favorite characters, not because I love him, again, I'm not an apologizer, he's a shit person, but because he's so complex.
And we haven't learned that much about him.
I feel like a lot of this fandom overlooks him. Feyre up to the wedding, like that whole beginning part of the book, is pretty slow. It's all the same. It's just establishing post Amarantha, like what's going on in the manor. And I agree that Tamlin should have reached out to her. He absolutely should not have been keeping her in the house, or like, you know, dressing her in the frilly dresses because it sends a message.
I think everything was okay up until he was controlling. Before, she didn't tell him anything, but then when she said, I can't be here anymore, like I need to get out. I need to get out. I don't want to wear these dresses. Like, I don't care about looking pretty and looking stable for people. I want to help.
Yeah.
And he still just goes no and like doesn't take in feelings into consideration at all. That's when
he messed up.
Yeah, that's when I started actually being like, okay, like this is really toxic.
I hated her from
the get-go.
The get-go.
You hated her?
I hated her.
I felt sus with her. I was like, why is this new character just in here doing whatever she wants? And like,
listen, organized religion, I'm like,
yeah, that was a little sus.
From the get-go, I'm like, priestess, you know? And then, okay, I will say though, I really liked Sarah J. Maas's idea of a priestess being sexual isn't the right word, but like sensual.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, they're supposed to like procreate because it's like a gift
life
from the mother.
Yeah,
and like, I think that even though they were corrupt, that's like the healthiest approach to religion. And so I didn't like Ianth, but I liked the concept of the
concept. Yeah.
The wedding planning was what really got me for her with the dress. And that was another thing I hated that Tamlin did. Was Feyre was like, I hate this dress, and Tamlin was like,
it symbolizes the spring
but
court.
She knows what she's doing. Like, just trust her. Like, my boyfriend did that?
Oh my god, if my boyfriend did that?
Tamlin is kind of stuck seeing her as this, like, bumbling country girl. It's, like, simple, illiterate human that he
needs to
protect. And, like, you know, it's like he's super condescending to her. You know, like, she's like, I don't like this dress. And he's like, oh, that's okay. It's like, go play with your toys, you know?
Like, she died for you. She went through all those 3 trials. She was on the verge of death multiple times. I think she can handle a little bit of like
picking her own wedding dress.
Yeah, under the mound. After they definitely were not like right for each other. Before they were the right people for each other. I really thought there was gonna be a way to fix it.
I did too.
Because I didn't think.
Okay.
I really did not think Rysand was still on the table.
Apparently I'm dumb because everybody else says that they guessed it as soon as he showed up. I literally did not know what was going on until like they were in the Court of Nightmares. Like,
no way until the Court
of
Nightmares. I think ACOTAR was the first book where I experienced loving a love interest.
Yeah.
And then that not being
not to love them anymore.
And them not being the love interest anymore. Like, because for most books you read and you meet the love interest and they're the love interest throughout the whole series, even if there's like a fallout or whatever, you always have that one love interest that you're rooting for. But ACOTAR was the first one where I was like,
you switched.
Yeah, I had like no idea. At the wedding, I still didn't think they would break up. I knew that they had problems. Tamlin was really making me mad.
Yeah.
Like, he was really
irritating. But I thought
irritating.
they were gonna fix it.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the big problem was her be taken away.
Yeah.
And then when they came back, he would be like, okay,
oh my god,
like,
I missed you so much.
Yeah, and like,
let's fix it.
Let's talk
like,
about
now it's a meme that when you read a book and you meet the blonde-haired guy, it's like, okay, one's the dark-haired guy. That was my first experience with that. That wasn't a thing.
That was not a thing.
Oh my god, I have to be real. The wedding, my heart broke for Tamlin. Can you imagine walking like your wife, the person you want to marry? Because okay, nobody can doubt Tamlin loved her. He does love her. Maybe not in the right way, but he loves her.
For sure.
The woman you love is walking towards you. She's wearing a dress. You know, you've been through so much, and then she fucking just stops, and your whole court is there, and they're like, just what? Like, ugh! Oh my god. If I was Tamlin, I would throw up. He was like,
Bestie, come on, like, take a step.
And like, imagine reaching your hand out to the person you love and they take a step back, and then Rysand shows up, steals her, and then he has to be like, okay,
the wedding's canceled. Yeah. I was really mad at Tamlin. I was actually really happy Rysand came. Because we saw Feyre's perspective. Like, we saw her asking for help.
You're wondering too, like, why he hasn't shown up.
Yeah.
That scene afterwards where she throws the shoes at him is one of my favorite scenes in the whole book.
It's so good.
The idea that he's been like fucking panicking all these months.
And she just throws a shoe at him.
And he's like, oh my god.
I think it's really funny that the whole fandom, like, it's canon that Rysand loves fashion. And so when he saw her in the dress,
he's like,
what is that atrocious
this monstrosity?
Yeah, like, that is trash, take it off. Like,
literally.
Go change.
Like, get out of
Yeah, go change. And then whenever she throws a shoe at him, he's like, what is that? Is that like last season's Gucci?
Literally. I love that it goes, that's one of my favorite scenes, because for me, I like seeing that Feyre still has that fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Her, but her afterwards, where she just pulls all the pins out of her hair and starts sobbing. And also knowing that Rysand can hear her.
Yeah.
And there's no way for him to like
comfort her because she doesn't want him to comfort, especially.
For him to see her the next day, like wake up for breakfast too, and he's like, are they feeding you? Like, I can't even imagine how she must have looked. It's crazy to me too, the self-restraint to just leave her the fuck alone. It removed the bond. He loved her.
Yeah.
Like, he was in love with her already.
From under the mountain.
From under the mountain at that point. So it's not even like, fuck the bond. Like, even forget the bond. It's just seeing the person that you love. Like
being starved because of her trauma.
Because she's vomiting up her guts every single night.
I think that's why I love Rysand, is because he doesn't, like, there are a lot of people, when you feel bad, you don't, like, joke around because you're like, oh, just let them be. But I love that Rysand chose to make her angry because then she feels something. Glimpse of him being serious, like, oh my god, like, are they not feeding you?
Yeah.
That sentence alone made me think, wow, okay, like, maybe I like Rysand more than Tamlin. Yeah.
Nothing really happens that first week
more
that she's
comes.
there, because remember, more comes. More.
Oh, we love more. Even though she needs to learn how to communicate, we love more.
Like, okay, Moore is a very problematic character, but I love her.
Yeah. No, I love her. I love her. She's a girl's girl.
Moore is a girl's girl.
She's a girl's girl. Like, I'm so glad Feyre has someone that, like, will put down, like, anything for her.
Because honestly, Feyre just needs a fucking friend. Because, okay, I'm a Lucian.
Stop! Okay, listen, I love Lucian.
No, Lucian, and first of all, like, we've skipped over Lucian. So what is Lucian doing all this? Nothing?
Okay, that's when we go back, because when she's first taken, we don't see much of Lucian.
Yeah, they don't really do.
Yeah, I think the only thing was really when they went through the towns and she wanted to help, and Lucian was like, just stop. Just stop. Like, listen to Tamlin. Okay, we'll get into that. So Moore, I think it's really funny that Moore teased him. Yeah. We didn't realize Moore knew about the mating bond because the first person he saw was Moore. He went back to Valaris and the first thing he said was, she's my mate. And that, like, broke my heart finding that out. And I love that she just really drills it in. Like, like,
that's such, like, sibling shit.
Yeah.
Too.
Like, oh, she's like the love of your life.
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna endlessly make fun of you.
Yeah, it looks like she hates you.
Like, and the fact that he's like this ultra powerful, like, High Lord who's like getting his balls nailed to the table by this like tiny little blonde girl. Yeah. Like, okay, I low-key picture Elle Woods from Legally Blonde when I think about Moore. Just like super girly, but also like the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, I love her. Oh my god.
Like, I just think about this teeny tiny little blonde girl. I know Moore's supposed to be like super tall. But this little blonde girl being like, so, Rysand, like, what's up?
I heard she threw a shoe at you.
Yeah, how did that feel?
They don't do anything, and then he takes her to the library.
He leaves her alone.
Yeah, and then he's like, okay, you're gonna need to learn to read and write, and she's like,
why?
She's like, do not mock me. And he's like,
bitch,
no.
I'm not.
And I'm like, no, what if you're in a situation again where you need to read?
Yeah, he's like, remember that time you almost fucking died and I saved you? And she's like, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, so that was strike 2 for me loving him.
Yeah.
All of the things that I wish Tamlin would start doing, Rysand was doing. Noticing that she was so skinny, because Tamlin loved her, but how can you literally sit there and see someone just deteriorate and not even remotely go, hey, like, let the chef, like, let me get the chef to cook you your favorite meal, like, let's eat something together, or like, let's do something. So
I love too that Rysand, because she was like, don't mock me, and he was like, it's not your fault. Yeah. Like, but you need to do it. You know? Like, like, he was like, it's not your fault that this happened, but it is your responsibility to learn. So in the future. And learn.
Yeah, and she respected that. Like, she took that in and she's like, you know what, he's right. Yeah. Like, I don't want my life to be dependent on this one skill that I could literally learn. Because I'm not doing anything else. That was nice. And then the mind shield.
Yeah. Yeah. The shielding?
Yeah, the shielding was really nice because it kind of just showed that he doesn't want to be able to control her. Yeah. Like, if he was a bad person, he wouldn't. He would just be like,
that's also when you first start, he first suggests about her having the powers. Like, from all of the different High Lords.
And Tamlin never talked about it.
Yeah, and she's like, no. Because he's like,
yeah.
And she's like, Tamlin says I don't need to learn how to fight. And then I could just picture Rysand in my head just going,
Yeah. It wasn't that visit when they have that conversation.
Yeah, it's the next one.
Okay.
But I can totally picture him.
Yeah, just like
he's like, count to 10. Count
yeah,
to 10.
like
he's like, I can't kill him. So then, you know, we go back, and then Tamlin's like, oh my god, are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay. You're like, yeah, he missed her, you know. And then when he grills her.
Oh, that's why I was mad. Because the first thing, it was like, he was like, are you okay? And then that was it. Then it was like, okay, Lucian, come in. We're gonna talk about the layout of the night court. And I was like,
it's like, so your fiance gets stolen from your wedding and is held hostage for a week? For all you know, getting tortured.
Yeah, that's what he thinks that's happening. Oh, like going into her mind, torturing her, getting information about the spring court, all of this negative stuff, and then all you say is, are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm good, like I'm fine. And you're like,
don't worry, he didn't touch me.
Okay, cool, let's talk about the layout of the night court now.
I love when Favor's like, he didn't touch me, and Tamlin's like, and she's like, I said he didn't touch me. I'm like, get him, girl. Yeah. He didn't listen to you the first time. Now, can I talk about Lucian? Because Lucian is, listen, everybody loves Lucian. Fuck Lucian. I'm sorry. I totally understand. For me, when you see somebody suffering in front of you that poorly, you don't stand by. I don't care about duty or honor or anything. Feyre was his friend. And I understand that Tamlin was like his High Lord and his friend, but if Tamlin was really your friend, then you should be able to go to Tamlin and be like, yo dude, you're fucking up right now and you need to fix yourself. And if anything, like, Lucian should have fought harder for her. He should have fought harder to be her voice. And at this point in time, all Lucian has done has been like, just be a good girl and, you know, don't make him mad. What about Feyre? Feyre's mad. My thing is, I understand that Lucian, for him, it was probably a lot to balance, you know, because he feels this loyalty to Tamlin for taking him out of the Autumn Court. But in my opinion, you're just a shit person if you sit there and you see somebody suffering. And it's not like Alice, for example. She is a servant. She doesn't even get to talk to Tamlin, you know? Lucian is his best friend and his advisor. Like, you are the only person in a position to speak to Tamlin, and you're choosing not to because you don't want to. We need stability. We need to present a united. Shut the fuck up.
Okay. Coming from someone that likes Lucian. I don't love him like I love Rhysand or the Bat Boys. I can see where it's really hard. I think it's because growing up, I can see the tradition, like the growing up and respecting your elders, like because my parents are really traditional. I don't believe in it, but I can see it. How it's ingrained. Yeah, how it's so ingrained, and like they are hundreds of years old. And they've known each other for hundreds of years. So for him, I feel like the tradition of the High Lord is ingrained in him. And being the second in command, he feels like he needs to do his... It's really bad to say, but it seems like in the Spring Court, especially even Tamlin, it's really patriarchal. And he even tells Feyre, like, haha, there's no such thing as a high lady. Right? Ooh, like, I think that's the
blood.
Yeah, boiling, right?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think that's the that is the first part that made me realize, oh, tradition is really ingrained in them, which is still it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But I can see why Lucian is seeing how this is not that big of a deal, because like women not in power, like that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
She's fine, she just needs time to heal. But Tamlin is my High Lord, and this is my court, and I'm trying to help my people, I'm trying to help my High Lord. I can see where it comes from, right?
For me.
And I think if Tamlin can have a redemption arc, I think Lucian can also. I think it's because you loved Tamlin.
I did, but I also don't like the way Lucian handles Elaine. One of the reasons, it's not relevant to this book yet.
Yeah.
But I don't like the way Lucian handles Elaine. Anyways.
Me either.
Anyways, my thing with Lucian, final thought, is that, you know, if him and Tamlin have known each other for so many hundreds of years, then he should be comfortable standing up to him at this point.
Yeah,
maybe
but they're
Lucian
not like
should
friends.
Grow a pair. Yeah, they are. They
but
are
like,
friends.
what if, like, okay, they're friends, but what if the tradition is so ingrained? He's the High Lord. Like, he is a High Lord. We watch Chinese dramas, like historical dramas a lot. Even if you are friends with the Emperor word is law. If you're not fully hating on the abuser, it's hard to hate on the person that like is not the one abusing, it's just witnessing it. Like, he could also be really scared of Tamlin.
That's true.
Tamlin is unhinged.
That's fair, and I will agree with that.
I think there's a lot of it really depends on how you see the situation. Like, friendship is really important.
Yeah.
She doesn't like Lucian right now. I still like him. I think he deserves a redemption arc also. He definitely has done a lot of mistakes, including Elaine. No, like, don't get mad about our opinions. Like, it's books. At the end of the day, these are fictional characters. Please do not leave anything mean.
Unless you hate Rysand, then you're a bad person. If you hate Rysand, you're a bad person.
Agreed. Yeah, we didn't talk about the no high lady thing. No, Tamlin, it's because you are...
He's misogynist. And I mean, to be fair, I will say, not to defend Tamlin again, when you're raised like that, because Lucian also is like, there's no high lady. You know how like when people are raised super conservative and then they go to college and then they're like fucked up because there's like gay people and stuff like that, which is totally, it is your responsibility to educate yourself. You know, like if you are a shitty person, it's your responsibility to educate yourself. So it's definitely on Tamlin too. He still sucks because he's a misogynist, but we also have to recognize that's probably
how he was raised.
The way he was raised.
The reason why
he's also making no moves to change that.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why the Bat Boys are so pro-feminist is because they were raised by women. Rysand was so close with his sister and mom, was not that close with his dad. Tamlin, his dad was the main
influence in his life. From everything we know, Tamlin's dad was the fucking worst.
Worst, because he was friends with Amarantha and Hybern.
Yep. So besties with Amarantha and Hybern, was mean to his mom, was mean to Tamlin. Clearly
the brothers were mean to him.
Yeah, Tamlin's brothers sucked. So like, you know, is it an excuse?
He has trauma.
But we also have to recognize that it's coming from a place of that's how he was raised.
Yeah.
There's that part too, where he shows her the map of the, like, Mortal Lands, and she's like, please don't invade Rysand. And he's like, you actually just think I'm the worst person ever, don't you? I feel like, again, his heart probably was like... hurt.
I mean, to be fair, Rysand, bro, your whole
image... bad things.
Like, your whole image is... making sure people are afraid of you. The Night Court is only the court of nightmares. So like, you can't really blame her for thinking that you're a bad person, because that's all anyone has ever told her. But I did feel really bad, because at that moment I was like, he seems so nice.
He doesn't take her to the townhouse yet, but he offers to work with her. He's like, I want you to work with me.
Okay, yeah.
Like, he's like, I think that you have the powers. Yeah. That's when they talk about that. He's like, you can be like a pretty little present wrapped up for him, or you can
be your own person.
Be your own person
and
do
be in
something.
Control. Yeah.
And then, you know, they talk about how Rysand fought in the war on the side of the humans, which she's like, oh, that's nice. And then that's when we find out that Tamlin, you know, he has the ties to Hybern and stuff, and Rysand's like, I need to know what side he's on.
Like, he is on the border
of the Spring Court.
Yeah,
and Spring Court and the human lands.
Then she goes back.
And the tithe. The tithe was officially... For me, that was it for Tamlin.
Oh my god.
That was officially when I started hating him.
When you do not have any empathy, sympathy, whatever you want to say for people in poverty.
The tithe and the High Lady and all that are the biggest examples for me of how Tamlin is not accepting of change. Like, his reasoning for everything is, this is the way it's always been done. You know? And it's like, maybe things shouldn't be done that way. And he never stops to consider that it could be hurting people.
Yeah. I was so mad. I love that Feyre helped. What was it, a siren? It was some type of lesser fae.
Water.
She helped the water wraith because they didn't have anything to contribute to the tithe.
And Feyre was like, I know what it means to be hungry.
To be hungry, exactly. Like, that hits more. As a reader, you know the struggle she went through when she didn't know when her next meal would be.
That's why Feyre's one of my favorites. Yeah. Like, we never talk about Feyre enough. I love Feyre. Love her because she never forgets, like, her roots.
Yeah.
You know, like, she's always humble.
Yeah.
And she's always, like, the defender of those people because she's like, I remember
I was that.
That was me. I love that she takes the jewels off of her own body because she's like,
she doesn't
these
care.
Things mean nothing to me. Like, they're nice. And Tamlin's like, you gave them jewelry that I gave you.
You gave me a whole box.
And she's like, you could give me a room full of jewelry if you wanted to. Like, she doesn't even have anything for her to eat. How is she gonna give you
something for a tithe? Like, we should be worrying about people feeding themselves and their family before contributing to what taxes. Like,
and then they get in a fight, and then afterwards, that's when he gives her the paint set. That I was scared for her reading that. That was the first time, because I never ever thought Tamlin would hurt her. Tamlin's never hurt her through the whole. He's maybe bystand hurt her, you know, but he's never
physically put his hands on her.
Yeah.
And he still didn't, but his powers
that was the first time I was scared
her.
for her.
Yeah.
And when, you know, when she's talking about the blood, like
Yeah.
or not the blood, the paint dripping, like
dripping.
blood. That's when I finally started realizing, like, they're not
good for each other.
like they're
like
not
it's
coming
really
back from
toxic.
this,
Yeah.
you know.
It's really toxic.
That's when she goes back, and
Every single
he's
time.
like, please help me.
Yeah,
Like,
help you.
Yeah, and he's like, please, like, work with me here.
She actually starting to learn. It's really cute. That's when their flirtation starts a little bit too.
Yeah.
Where it was like he made her write out like Ryzen is the most
Ryzen
handsome.
is the most handsome High Lord.
Yeah,
Ryzen
is the most cunning
I have
High
a
Lord.
sticker on my coffee cup, and it's
All
a little
of the whole
book
thing?
with like the writing in it.
I think that's like the cutest thing.
Yeah, it's
Like-
a little bit of it's like the little comedic relief.
Yeah, because he knew making her write that would make her so mad.
It feels like he like can't help it too.
Yeah,
Like,
but it's like
he wants a compliment from her, even if it's like
yeah,
an
but it's also
indirect
just
way.
like a way of like, oh, you don't know what this says, but when you learn what it says, you're gonna be so mad that you've been writing it this entire time. So I found that so funny.
That's when she goes back and Tamlin locks her in the house.
Oh, we also don't talk. Ryzen has been helping her with her powers,
Yes.
especially just the mind
I
one.
think ever since he starts helping her too, a lot of them start coming out more. You know?
Yeah.
Remember she burns her hands
Mhm.
into the table.
Exactly. And Tamlin and Lucian told her to just not do anything about it.
Which I also think it's really funny.
Like, to hide it.
There's that one point where he's like, I'm gonna go to the border, and she's like, oh, like my abilities, like I could help, and he's like, you're untrained. You're
Well,
best
train
if
her
you
then.
trained her,
Yeah.
she wouldn't be a liability.
Yeah, I hate the protecting the damsel. Like, she has every single High Lord's powers. Like, she is powerful. She just needs to learn how to control it. It's more dangerous for her to not know how to defend herself, you know? Like, that's what was making me so angry. Like, stop undermining her. She is in more danger not being able to defend herself. Like, just teach her.
Yep.
So, that last time is when Tamlin finally broke the camel's back. Like, that was the worst possible thing you can do with someone that is afraid of being, like, she's basically claustrophobic, for one.
Afraid of being trapped.
Yeah, like, without giving her any way out. Like, it's like putting glass all over you, being able to see a way out and just not being able to get out. I cannot imagine the anxiety that would give someone that is afraid of just being trapped somewhere.
That was the last straw for me with Tamlin.
That was really bad.
So obviously our girl comes together.
Because Ryzen couldn't.
Oh, you know that Ryzen wanted to
Ryzen could have destroyed, but
she could have wiped the springport off the map.
But that's how you know he's a good person, because he didn't want to start a war. He didn't want innocent people to go through war, because war comes with more poverty at the end of the day.
So he sends more to go get her. I love when Alice is like,
take care of her.
Yeah.
Because Alice could see just how bad Feyre was. Like, every time she went back to the night court, she would gain some weight, she would look a little brighter, and then as soon as she returned to the spring court, it would go back to normal, like, not normal, but bad. Yeah, what happened?
And then, you know, they tell her, like, you know, this isn't part of the bargain, so you don't have to go back. You can stay here as long as you want, and that's when she's like, I'm not going back. I can't go back. Like, not until
he
I
learns.
Fix.
Yeah, she
like,
fixes
we both
her
fix whatever's wrong with us.
Yeah, that's when they start
working together.
Yeah.
And the book really
picks up by that time.
Like,
I will say I was still
happens
really interested in that first portion. It was 200 pages of really starting to hate Tamlin.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Sarah J. Maas.
She did it so well.
It's like a slow
burn. It's a slow burn.
Ooh.
You know that tension for slow burn romances? It was that
like
tension for
hatred.
Yeah. And she did it so well. Because at first you're like, it really did feel like step by step you were just getting angrier and angrier and angrier, and then it all exploded when she was trapped.
Yep.
And she did, Sarah, magnificent. It was
I feel like at that point you're like falling in love with Rysan and you don't even
realize.
Yeah.
Like, you love him as a character because he's helping Feyre.
Yeah.
But you don't love him like, oh my god.
Well, because at this point they're like foil characters too. You know, like Tamlin's like, you can't be High Lady, and then Rysan's like, you can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then Tamlin's like, don't train, and Rysan's like, let me train you.
Yeah.
So it's like you're getting all this shit stuff from Tamlin, and then the next chapter Rysan's throwing it back. Yeah.
Rysan's throwing it back. No, he's like, okay, well, if you are finally going to work with me, I want to show you.
You have to meet.
Yeah, meet the crew, meet the team.
He takes her to the townhouse.
I love that scene.
I'm gonna go to bed.
Well, okay, before that, because she's still depressed and she's still anxious about that situation, but she describes it, like, the night court as beautiful, and then the townhouse as, like, super cozy.
Yeah, homey.
And, like, welcoming. Lived in, and this is what she wanted. She didn't want a castle of, like, servants running all over the place and her being, like, doted on, basically. She just wanted to be a person.
I love too that this is where you start realizing that everything about the night court
is a lie.
What it seems, you know? Like, I love they get there and he's like, I'm taking you to meet my inner circle, and you're like, oh shit, like, who's this guy's inner circle? And then it's like Cassie and Azriel and Amran, and they're like banging on the door, and he's like, Rysand, I know you're fucking in there, Lysan. And Amran's like, down dog, like, get away from me, you know? And then Moore shows up and she's like, food? Food? And Feyre's like, what the fuck? Feyre's like, oh, okay, this is... Because she's used to the spring court where, like, Tamlin and Lucien are friends, obviously, but it's, like, everybody else is, like, it's like coworkers. You know? Yeah, exactly. When they started banging on the door, oh my god, I lost it. I was like, I already love them. I already love them. And I did not know what they looked like. There was no description. Obviously, we only heard their voices and Azriel's little snarky, like, remarks after Cassian's dumbass remarks. It was so perfect that I was like, this is the perfect place for her. I have to say though, I love that Sarah didn't just immediately flip the switch, like, yeah, I'll meet them. She was like, I'm gonna go to sleep. Like, okay, so the battery died, but I think this is a really good place to stop for this video. This is gonna be a two-parter. So ACOMAF just has to be. It has to. It might be 3 because we literally are a third way in. Oh, because honestly, I can make a whole video about Underneath the Court of Nightmares. So get excited for different parts for ACOMAF. We stopped at the townhouse. And that's kind of like the switchover point. That is the switchover. And the book is like, it's basically like pre-night court and post-night court, you know, like agreeing to work with Rysand. So I feel like that's when the book really changes gears. Yeah, exactly. So this is a really good place to stop. I hope you guys enjoy this video. It's a lot more concise, a lot more organized. We tried really hard. Yeah, we did try really hard. For part 2, I don't know if we're gonna be together for part 2, but if we're not, we'll just be on Discord. Yeah, we'll be on Discord. You'll still see our pretty little faces. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Make sure you give it a like, and definitely go check out ACOTAR. Yes. Even though it's really, really chaotic. It's really chaotic. Okay, bye.